Parshat Pinchas begins with telling us Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, source number 2, Pinchas, son of Elazar, son of Aaron the Kohen, turned back my wrath from upon the children of Israel when he zealously avenged me among them. So I did not consume the children of Israel in my vengeance. Therefore say, behold, I give him my covenant of peace, and it shall be for him and his offspring after him a covenant of eternal priesthood, because he took vengeance for his God, and he atoned for the children of Israel. And we know that this is really a continuation of the previous Parsha, where the end of Parshat Balak tells us how Bilam's plan in order to be able to kill off the Jews, because the God of Israel hates immorality, was to have the daughters of Moab go and entice the Jewish men. And indeed, we end, and this is source number 1, where a prince of the tribe of Shimon, Zimri ben Salu, publicly takes Cosbi Batsur, princess of Midian, and is publicly together with her, right? Pitches his tent in front of everyone. And everyone is crying, and Pinchas takes the Romach Biado, takes a spear in his hand, and he kills both of them. And the Torah tells us, and this is source 1, verse 7, Pinchas, son of Elazar, son of Aaron the Kohen, saw, and he stood up from amid the assembly and took a spear in his hand. He followed the Israelite man into the tent and placed them both, the Israelite man and the woman, into her stomach, and the plague was halted for the children of Israel. And we know, as we've discussed, 24,000 people had died in this plague. There are a number of questions. There are a lot of questions that come up in learning this section. A certain amount of questions I'd like to deal with, and obviously there's a lot more answers than we'll discuss. But let's at least try to focus on some of these basic questions to get a sense of what this story is about. Our first question is, and this is the question that's found in source number 2 of the Brisker Rav. The Brisker Rav, in the name of Chaim Soloveitchik, makes a similar point. And he says, why did Hashem reward Pinchas with my covenant of peace? Pinchas had just committed a violent, albeit very commendable, act of zealous defense of divine honor. Therefore, he should have been rewarded with Hashem's covenant of zealotry. Why did he get the covenant of peace? Would it not make more sense that Pinchas should get the reward of, I'm now hereby giving you the bris of zealotry. You are the king of zealousness, of kanos. But instead of getting that as his reward, he gets as his reward the bris shalom, a covenant of peace. Imagine a brave soldier returning from the battlefield after heroically turning the tide of a battle against the enemy. Would we award him the Congressional Medal of Honor or the Nobel Peace Prize? It doesn't seem to make any sense. It only seems to make sense that he should get what would be the something which is really parallel to what he's done. He's committed an act of zealotry, therefore he should get rewarded with zealotry and not with the kunas olam, with priesthood and with peace. And further, what's so surprising, as is brought down in source number 4, our rabbis tell us, Kol kohen sharagat hanefesh lo yisad kapav. Any priest who kills is not permitted to duchen, to bench birkas kohanim. Now this is really bizarre. The very act of murder, or let's not call it murder, the very act of killing that Pinchas did, killing Zimri and Cosbi, that very act allowed him and his family after him to become the kunas olam, to become the priest. So how do we understand that if a Kohen kills, he can't duchen, right? He loses some aspect of his priesthood, because again, many reasons, but a priest has to be involved in without bloodshed, in pursuing peace, of oev shalom v'rotev shalom. And here in the very act of violence, Pinchas is rewarded with kunas olam. It seems to make no sense. And I think perhaps the overall question that I'd like to try to struggle with the Mirz Hashem today, and I think it is probably the most fundamental question for us. When we read such a section, when we learn about the zealous act of Pinchas, right, of taking that romach, taking that spear, and acting in this very kanos, very brazen, zealous type of way, what message, what lesson can we learn for our lives from this story? Most of us aren't zealots. We don't go around the streets with spears in our hand. If we do, we'd probably be committed, yeah? So obviously it seems to be so far afield from anything relevant in our lives. And what I'd like to try to learn together today, and I think it's so fundamental to our lives and fundamental as we enter into, starting this week, with Shivas Tammuz, with the 3 weeks of what the Avelus, what the mourning is all about, and what our relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu is all about, is all found within this model of Pinchas. So let's, my friend, learn together. I think the first